coming off the heels of our previous episode, we talked about Katt Williams, and I hate to double down on Katt Williams talk and all that stuff. It's been a lot of Katt Williams talk, and a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon. Not saying we did. We like to discuss the what's going on. It was just a topic of what's going on. We had to discuss. We had to address it. So I don't like to think that we jumped on the bandwagon, but in sorts, you can say we kind of did, right? Which is okay. As long as it's done in the right fashion. But there was another interview that was released after Katt Williams with Club Shay Shay. And this one didn't go off not in the same fashion. It kind of fell flat in a sense. I mean, still did great numbers because it had that Katt Williams tag. Still did great numbers. Probably one of the highest rated views of this individual interviewer's portfolio, if you will. But a lot of people's opinions, it fell flat. And Willie D, man. Willie D. Kind of feel like he jumped on the bandwagon in an ill sense. Yeah, I mean, you heard about this, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
So the issue is not necessarily that he did the podcast or did the interview with Katt Williams, but if you listen to the podcast and some things don't kind of add up in the title of the podcast versus how the podcast was, how the interview was. Mm-hmm. The caption reads, Katt Williams at it again after he goes in and explains after he broke the internet.
Yeah.
But if you look at the interview, you can clearly tell that this interview was probably recorded before Club Shay Shay. Yeah. So it's not Katt Williams at it again. Is you had an interview with Katt Williams.
In the stash.
Stat on it. It's like, I don't know if I want to release it. It might not be all that great. People ain't really checking for Katt right now. Yeah. So I'm going to just leave it in the tuck. Club Shay Shay interview comes out. Pops off goes big. Willie D sits back, says, in my opinion, allegedly, I got this interview with Katt. I need to release mine too. But Katt Williams goes at it again after breaking the internet.
Yeah.
So, was what?
I looked at the video from Willie responding to everybody's response to his video with Katt Williams. Mm-hmm. And he pretty much acknowledges what you guessed. Yeah. Okay. I had this in the tuck for months. I didn't release it. He said, I'm working on something new. And I had a lineup of things I was going to release to promote my new venture at the top of the year. He said, Shannon dropped his video, and then he said Katt reached out to him afterwards and said, I should have warned you this was coming so you could have did something with yours. Willie was like, he probably didn't think to warn me because he knew I'd been sitting on it for months and hadn't released it yet. So he was like, I don't know what this dude doing. So he probably wasn't on my mind. I probably wasn't on his mind. But he said Katt reached out after, Willie dropped his and all that, chaos commenced. So basically, Willie said, even after Shannon dropped his video, he thought to himself, I'm going to just hold mine. But he said, what I did was I realized I messed up once and let Shannon drop his first. Why would I mess up again and let somebody else come after Shannon and ride the wave? If I might as well ride this wave now and get the most out of the video. Because he said he didn't think that his video pretty much was going to ever reach the level of what Shannon did. He said with them two, it was a perfect storm. And he understood that. He was like, so mine was never going to do that good anyway. So in order to get the most out of the video, at least drop it while the wave is here versus holding it and then not getting the most out of it, trying to just be separate from the wave, which business-wise makes sense.
Makes sense,
and he with the title, he what's the term people say when you give a fake title to get views? Clickbait. He clickbaited.
Clickbait. Yeah, there we go. I'm thinking
clickbaited. yeah. That's what you used to. He clickbaited, man. You know what I'm saying? He clickbaited, and that's what happened, man. So
yeah, and I think that might have been what most people probably were mad about. Like after the backlash came back at him was mainly the caption, the clickbait. Because when I went to check it out, I did watch it for a few minutes in the beginning, and the interview just wasn't hitting. Like it just wasn't. It didn't. It didn't give me that umph. So I didn't watch it all the way through like we did with the Shay Shay Club Shay Shay joint. 2 hours and 45 minutes. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's where people like where it rubbed people the wrong way, and the criticism that he had to take. You had to sit with that criticism because a lot of people are expecting a certain piece of content to come
Round
out.
two?
Like,
they thought round two was coming?
Like, gonna
and
go
this was
back
the prequel?
yeah, doubling down on what he said before or explaining in more depth what he was saying about some individuals. You know, just clarifying some things, clearing the air, putting or doubling down, going back at it again in the same fashion that he did with the Club Shay Shay interview. And I think what happened was a lot of people were looking at that interview thinking that, okay, this is going to be round two, here we go. Yeah. And it just wasn't that. So you got to sit with that criticism because of the clickbait. If he didn't clickbait it, I don't think the criticism would have been to the same height.
No, it wouldn't have been. And even if he was going to do the clickbait title, he could have put something in the description saying, you know, this was an unreleased interview from Katt Williams from months before. And, you know, people weren't going to read the description no way. But at least he could blame it on people's own, you know, lack of due diligence versus himself. You know what I'm saying?
You know, like every time now, like we said, due diligence, remind me, like every time like those interviews, or not interviews, but people come on YouTube and they talk about a certain thing, they always throw in a little disclaimer. You heard it,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't. I put a disclaimer out there. So now I got to leave it up to you to, if you feel some kind of way, hey, dummy, I put it right there in front of you. You didn't want to look at it.
Yeah.
Don't blame me. You always got that ability to throw that little trump card or cop out card, but he didn't have that. So,
yeah, I think that's the only place he went wrong at. You know what I mean? Like everybody's clickbaiting. It's a competitive world, and as far as online and just putting out content in general. So yeah, he clickbaited. I get it. He ain't the first. He ain't the last. He ain't gonna be the last. A lot of people clickbait. I'm beyond the clickbait titles now. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like I just assume you're clickbaiting me if it's too salacious. You know what I mean? Like so I go in with the assumption it's
clickbait. Being clickbaited. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, I'm not mad at that. I think it was good business to timing that he dropped the video. That was good business. You're supposed to drop it and ride the wave. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people call that clout chasing. Clout chasing is an interesting subject because it's got a negative connotation, but it's not always done negatively. It doesn't always have to be negative. Like what happens is clout chasing, typically the negative connotation that you tend to think of in general is when somebody is, you know, talking negative, speaking negative, putting out negative content based on a person with the intention of building their name up off of that person's brand name or whatever the case may be. Yeah. Versus if you release something and it's hot, if you and I'm sorry to say this, I probably should have said this for the end, but I'm going to say it now. If you have a song with the new hot producer, right? And then that producer, but okay, if I got a song and I drop a song with the Neptunes before the Neptunes is who they are today, it's a hit. And now Denzel got a song in the stash with the Neptunes because he worked with them 6 months ago, but he thought their music was weird, so he didn't release it. And now the Neptune song is the biggest thing on the radio. Denzel's supposed to drop that song.
I got something that sound like that in the tuck. I didn't like it. I thought it was good, honestly, but I got to drop it.
I got to drop it. That's not clout chasing at that point. That is smart business and well-timed business. And that's clout chasing, I guess you could say, but it's not technically clout chasing, really.
You would say, like, okay, so clout chasing would have been, say, Katt reached out to Willie D for an interview. Willie D declines. Right? Or, you know, say, I'll get to you at some point. Katt goes back and says, hey, man, I want to do an interview with you. Blows him off again. Goes to Club Shay Shay. Blows up, goes bananas. And then, yo, Katt, remember the interview you said you wanted to do?
Yeah.
When are you ready to set it up?
Cloud chasing. Cloud chasing.
So
Cloud chasing.
I guess what, you know what? That makes a good point, because I would give him credit for even having a Katt Williams interview in the stash, right? Especially at a time where people weren't really interviewing him in that moment or in that space. Just like if I was an artist and I'm working with the Neptunes and I gave the Neptunes an opportunity to work with me, especially me being an artist already, like, all right, I'm going to give these young producers a shot. I gave them a shot. Not that I blew them off. Hey, as a Neptunes, as producers, hey, we want to work with you. Nah, whatever. Then they finally blow up, and then I'm trying to make that call. Hey, for real, Chad, y'all want to do it? Y'all want to do it? That's.
I want to still do that song we talked about. Yeah, cloud chasing.
So yeah.
So Willie did the interview when it wasn't hot to do the interview. He knew the interview was and didn't put it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's me putting something on it. Because Willie said he was saving it for a later venture. But if you sat on it for months, either I'm going to take the man at his word, but at the same time, I'm going to add my little piece. He probably knew it wasn't all that and it wasn't worth dropping either. You know what I'm saying? And then, and when it was right,
the world saw that it wasn't all that.
Yeah, But look, matter of fact, I didn't watch the interview, the Willie D interview, but the only clips I've seen from it is two clips. Is one, Katt talking about white people knowing why white people pay attention to black people. That was the one clip that I keep seeing circulate. And then the other clip is you ask the worst questions. You ask the worst questions. That's the clip I see the most, is Katt telling Willie D he asked the worst questions. So that's the most viral clip from the whole thing.
And he did.
Now, with that being said, though, was the interview, as somebody who did watch someone, was the interview that bad, or was it just coming off the heels of what you had, it was that bad? Without Shannon Sharp Club Shay appearance, would it have still been a decent interview?
It would have been an interview that would have been worth checking out. Just to have an opportunity to hear in depth Katt Williams' experiences and the way he thinks and stuff like that. It's worth it in that aspect. If there was ever no Club Shay interview, right? If there was no Shannon Sharp interview, it was worth a listen to say, okay, let me hear what Katt has to say. Not in it for the Willie D questions or in it for the Willie D dynamic. That's not why you're going to watch the interview. You're not going to watch how Willie D asks the questions, or how Willie D poses certain scenarios for Katt to fall into. Mm-hmm. Definitely not it. And he said, I'm not a journalist, so I don't do this thing. But you got a platform and you interview people. Like, his style of interviewing was trash. It was.
Yeah.
It was. Without comparing it to anybody else, if you just put him on an island and say this interview was the only interview that I've ever seen, you would even say, yes, you as an interviewer in this particular interview was lame. Just the way he set the questions up, followed the questions up, it didn't hit at all without comparing to anything else. But now you add that Shannon Sharp factor into it. Major egg.
Okay. I mean, it is what it is, man. So that's the rough part about it, man. When you gonna ride the wave, you're gonna have to deal with what comes with the territory, because at the end of the day, if you have a lesser product or a lesser version while everybody's excited about it, it may behoove you and your brand to hold on to it to avoid the hit you're going to take. So you got to weigh it out. Is the hit my brand could possibly take from the disappointment worth all the views I'm going to get off this one video?
You know what? Honestly, I think you got a point there, because now after watching an interview, it's like, how many people are going to take an interview with Willie D now? I think you tarnish for the click of for the sake of clicks and views. Yeah, you might have got a spike in views for this one, but since now that you got all that attention, how many of those people are going to come back to watch more Willie D interviews?
Yeah,
you're not going to get people to follow up. You're not going to have follow up. Or you might not get people that want to sit down and talk with you because I don't like the way you ask questions. No, I don't care to have an interview with you. So yes, you got a spike in views, but you might have tarnished your brand in a sense. possibly.
Yeah. Something to
So you gotta
consider,
wait to work.
which,
Yeah.
but it'll work out for Willie however it's supposed to work out. You know what I mean? He's been at it for a while. And
Yeah.
I don't think that he does interviews, but I don't think that's his primary thing. I think Willie likes to talk social and be his own voice more so than an interviewer, so it'll be all right. The people that come to Willie come for Willie. They don't come for I don't think they come to hear his interviews with other people all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's his primary thing. Like Shannon Sharp is more of an interview platform to me for Club Shay Shay, not Nightcap and stuff like that. His other brands, you come to hear him talk, but I think on Shay Shay, you kind of come to see him interact with other people. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, if he was trying to get into that space, he might have heard his case to jump into that space.
Yeah. Going into that space, he might have hurt himself, but
But all in all, I like Willie D. I've clicked on a few of his videos in the past just to hear what he had to say about certain things. So I applaud him for what he does. So it's no diss to Willie D, but the interview was whack.
Yeah. Hey, man. The OG didn't like it though. He don't like people talking about his interview, man. He won't feeling that, man. So, Hey,
look, but if you're gonna jump into a social space, you have to be willing to take the criticism. You got to be able to be willing to take critique, especially if one, you clickbaited, two, the interview wasn't all that great. He should have been braced for the backlash. If I was in his shoes and I'm dropping that, and I know it's just to get the views real quick, to take a business opportunity, I'm taking a risk, and I'm bracing for the backlash because I already know.